Hi, class. Happy Tuesday. Um, well, we are quickly approaching the end of our class. Basically, have two more submissions, two more homeworks, um, one more critique, and then we're done. Just to give you an idea on the schedule here. If we come down, you can see that this week we're in kind of our founding team week. So we're going to talk about our team slide and what goes into that. I know I covered a bit of this material on previous lecture as far as how to think about team. We're going to talk about like what to put into a team slide and why a team slide is important. Um, and yeah, and then next week I'll be talking about putting together the final pitch deck. There is one last slide that we'll put into there. Um, Basically, since we're not doing a pitch and critique that week, there's a little more work on kind of the prep side and your actual pitch. Um, but yeah, so today I'm going to talk about do a lecture on kind of pitching as we next week you're going to be doing your pitch in full. So kind of each week we've been talking about just pitching to the slide that we've been presenting. Next week we're going to want to put it together in one full pitch where we actually talk about our business from A to Z. And so that's kind of what I'm going to be talking about here and how to think about these things. And then I'll talk about, we'll take a look at the team slide and talk about what that slide does and how to make a great team slide that adds to kind of your deck. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. And yeah, anyway. Okay, so talking about pitching, obviously you've been doing quite a bit of this. I've given some I've given a bit of different uh high points and improvement points on what to do here, but let's dig into some specifics and talk about how we can make a impression when we pitch. All right, so very simply, a pitch is we're verbalizing this idea, this concept, um, to an audience. So we're taking something that we've spent a lot of time kind of in our head, maybe on our computer, on paper, and we're working on verbalizing that. So the reason the pitch is important is it's really your personal opportunity to figure out how to talk about this thing. Oftentimes, if it's a new idea, even if it's not a new idea in the world, like we're talking about a sample childcare business here, that may be somewhat simple, but your business is unique because it's yours. It's not going to be cookie cutter to somebody else's. Even if it is very similar, there's likely some amount of tweaks that are different from an existing business. It's unique in the world, and you need to learn how to talk about it and verbalize it such that other people understand when you're communicating. And the reason that's important is, once you've learned to do that, taking that messaging and then, taking that messaging and putting that messaging into a graphical representation for an advertisement or something like that is far easier. If you're trying to do that, but you still don't know how to spit the words out of your mouth, it becomes pretty difficult. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to figure out how to speak about our business. And if we can get other people to understand when we're speaking and they can't really see it, we've kind of done our job and we can take that and push it forward. Okay. Typically, it's there's going to be some sort of audience. That audience can change or is dependent on, what we're trying to do. So if we're trying to sell our product to a customer, our audience is our customer. If we're trying to raise money, it's an investor. If we're trying to bring talent in, that's potential employees. So, there may be some consistency, kind of some threads that run through the thing, to keep a general flavor between these different groups. However, there may be specific languages that, like an investor may care about, but a potential employee doesn't. And so we may want to change, morph, shift the language in how we describe these things depending on who we're talking to. We may leave out, portions um, uh, of our content too if it's not applicable to a certain party. So here's some examples of some different pitches. And what we want to think about is when we're pitching to someone, really that person is they're always our customer. So even if they're not giving us money, or they're not paying for a product, we think about them as our customer, and we want to answer the questions that they have, that are relevant to our business when we're pitching. So something like, if we're pitching to a customer, what are we solving for them? That's what a customer is going to care about. Like, what are you doing for me, right? And that may involve, so this says, what problem are you solving for the customer? So A, pointing out like, hey, this is a problem you have, and then B, here's how I solve it, right? So problem and solution. All right. Now for an investor, explaining to an investor, what an investor has, if you think about the investor's problem, is they have money and they want to earn return. So you need to explain to them, how your business fits in with kind of their goals and desired outcomes. For a future employee, why should I, work for you versus working for somebody else? Um, uh, there's an opportunity cost for them. Why is the environment that you're providing the right environment? Those types of things. Okay. So when we think about what's in our pitch, well, this shouldn't be super confusing, but it really aligns with the pitch deck we've been putting together. Hopefully that's pretty obvious. There's 4 kind of main components, and then to me, those components are very core, and really are applicable to almost any customer segment or any interest segment, whether it's customer, investor, those types of things. And then they're kind of like the secondary pieces. So those primaries are really our problem statement, highlighting what is the problem in the market that we are addressing, what is the problem that we see. This may be something obvious, it may be something that the customer doesn't even know that is a problem until you point it out. But we want to highlight what is the problem, and then our solution. So what are we pushing into the market to solve this? How do we solve it? What's our approach? Why is it unique? Why is it better than other solutions out there? And then we want to focus on the market. So who are what is the demographic? What is the, what is the area of the world that we're focusing on solving this for? Even if it solves it for everybody, we're going to focus initially on a specific market, and that's where we're gonna push our solution. And then lastly is, where are you at? What's the traction? What's your proof of concept? Where's the business currently residing? When I say residing, I mean like what's the state, not where it's physically located, but if you've got if you don't have any customers, but you've got some feedback or something like it, cool. That's all right. You don't need to be so far down the line, but you want to indicate that, hey, this is where we're at. It kind of puts some weight to the business. It grounds it in reality. And it makes it more approachable. It makes you more authentic. We don't have to pretend like every business is a winner out of the gate, or is creating cash flow. If it's early, it's early, and informing people of that is important. Okay, so then we've got kind of our, I guess, secondary items. So again, we've got some more traction. So you can see here that we've got, I don't know why this fell on the second slide as well. I must have copied that. Anyways, So we've got a second traction. Um, I guess target market got, I'm not, I apologize, guys. I don't know why these two got these two got copied. But anyways, so then we've got some other ones here that are customer acquisition costs. So talking about our marketing plan, how we're going to get our product in front of the market. That might be important to if we're talking to a customer. That may not be something they care about. If we're talking to an investor, explaining to them like the profit model, um, uh, how we're um, how we're getting to the customer, how we're getting to the market, what are the sales channels, explaining profitability, that could be more important. So again, that's why this is kind of secondary. Value proposition, so articulating like why we're better. That goes into a little bit on our solution side of things, but we can get into more depth on um, why we're better than other people out there, how we provide a better service at a more affordable cost or something like that. So getting more into the details, we could add things like our, talking about our team. Well, I'm going to explain, in a second why that's important. It's kind of secondary. It's not necessarily um, uh, as primary as what we're providing. Um, yeah. Okay, so let's talk about some tips and tricks on how to basically effectively sell your idea. If we think about a pitch, what are we doing? We're really doing sales. Um, if we can win over a customer um, or an investor into believing us, we've done our job effectively. So what we're trying to do here is really sales. Um, so if you think about what are some tips and tricks to pitching well, it's being a good salesperson. How do we do that? One, we want to use assumptive language. So we want to take a position that we're not. I think often when you're talking about yourself, you kind of sand the corners down. You take an idea, you take a concept, um, you make it sound like it's a little more, when I say more polished, it's not really the right thing, but we're not truly being um we're curbing kind of our ideas. We're putting something out there we're putting uncertainty into our certainness. And what we want to do is not do that. We want to assume that the person, if I'm talking to an investor, I want to assume that they are going to invest. And simply, this person just needs to hear me speak such that they then say, here's my money. So we want to approach it like that. We don't want to say, if you invest in our company, we want to say when you invest in our company. And I know that's a very small tweak, but that'll, we don't want to inject uncertainty into the conversation. So we want to approach with strength, we want to approach with certainty, and we want to use language that assumes our customer is already along for the ride. As an XX customer, you will receive this. Not if you become a customer, we can provide this. It's when, as a customer, as a so, really try to get them on board from the get-go. And really, we want to assume they're yeses and we want to force them to tell us no. We don't want to assume they're no's and get them to say yes. Make them say no. And if they don't say no, they're a yes. Secondly, visual aids. It's part of the reason we're putting together a deck. It's far easier to talk to something when you have a visual aid. I know, and I apologize, I can't, I don't recall the student's name, but one of the students with a sunglasses company had a visual aid. She actually had a prototype. Even if that was, you could have done something similar, even if you didn't, have a prototype of your specific product. If you just even brought out a sunglasses and just kind of waved it around, having something real that people can kind of see, touch, feel, it brings weight to the presentation, and it allows you to speak to something. It takes the attention off, kind of your face. And people then, it kind of grounds what you're doing in reality. So a lot of what we're doing here with the pitch deck, it's again, you're not looking and reading your thing. It's something that's behind you. It's off to the side. It's giving you maybe prompts, but it's kind of taking people's attention so that they can look at something else for a little bit of time, come back to you, understand the concept, listen to you, go back and forth. So having a visual aid, makes it a lot easier, more understandable. It allows us to kind of like truncate things a little bit easier. If you don't fully explain an idea, there's kind of, some backup information, those types of things. So that's having a visual aid is very important. Some of the times you're going to be in a situation where you don't have a visual aid, and you're going to need to pitch, and it is what it is. But it can help make a pitch better. Um, and then I guess kind of the last thing here is pay attention to tone. I think so. We have a tendency of when we're speaking in a crowd to one, tone goes up, meaning our voice actually lifts in tone. And two, we speed up. And these things come from essentially being uncomfortable, being scared, wanting to basically rush through to get to the end, to get off stage, or to get out of the public eye. And that what that does is it projects um, whatever the opposite of confidence is. It reads as if we're scared, as if we're running away, because in reality, that's sort of what we're doing. So we want to, it's better to slow down, speak slower, insert pauses. Stopping for a minute and letting people digest isn't the worst thing in the world. If you feel like you just need to talk for 5 minutes straight with no pauses, no beats of silence, it doesn't allow people to digest what you're saying. So slow down, maintain a level tone. You don't want to, a little intonation is great. Like being excited is okay. I'm not saying don't be excited, but control yourself. Don't don't allow the moment to kind of take advantage of you. Be present, be clear, be concise. Be aware of what's going on. Okay. All right, so let's talk about our elevator pitch. This is what we're really delivering here. Now, there's different forms of elevator pitches. There's different, an elevator pitch is quote unquote the time it takes to ride in an elevator. Well, different buildings are different sizes, so different elevator pitches have different lengths. Traditionally, like an elevator pitch is like 15 seconds. Here it says 30 seconds to 1 minute. There's kind of like, let's say there's three different lengths of kind of elevator pitches that you want to have in your pocket. You want to have like a 10-second, like, boom, here's what my business is. That's where you're basically spitting your kind of tagline. All right. So if we think about our pitch deck here, saying something like, oh, my business is Sprout House. We're an at-home child care service prioritizing outdoor play. in the Mira Mesa area. Boom, something like that. It doesn't explain the full business, but if somebody's just asking, you can spit it really quickly. Then we've got kind of our 1 minute pitch. This allows us to get more into like those primary key objectives. So if we think about what's in the pitch, really talking about problem, solution, market, and maybe where we're at. Maybe we can get that in a minute. Really just to the point, boom, 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 line it up, done. And then the last one that we want to talk about, and this is what I'm actually going to have you do in this class, is something under 5 minutes where, we've been given an opportunity to, with a captive audience to kind of like, hey, tell me about your idea. And we just kind of go. And we want to keep our kind of full speaking points under 5 minutes because that's about all people can pay attention for at max. But that's where we can cover any material that we want. We just want to, keep it short, concise, focus on the areas that you think are super important to your business, spend more time there. The areas that you don't, spend less time. So there isn't necessarily a tried and true rule about like where to spend time. I think the four areas that I've highlighted are the most important. However, you may have strengths in your business that, are more important to focus on. So if, let's say, you're a highly technical business and you believe that, your team is super important to making that business a reality, spend a minute there. That's all right. Now you may, maybe you're just a hard worker, which that's me, by the way. So I probably wouldn't focus a whole lot on my team slide. And you really, really understand the problem at a very, visceral level. Maybe you've lived it. You've worked in a business for 10 years or something like that, and you've seen and lived this problem, and you can explain the problem in great depth. Great. Dig in, spend your time there. Okay, so sorry, I know that's not super specific to what's on this slide, but that's how we want to think about what we're going to do, where we're going to spend our time when we're delivering our pitch. Want to think about a hook right out of the gate. So and what a hook is something that's, kind of draws the audience in, gets the audience to think, gets them kind of waiting for you to say the next thing. So oftentimes that'll be like asking a question or proposing an open-ended kind of thought idea. That's kind of that's a hook. So something, you might be like, have you ever blankety blank, like, I don't have an idea, but have you ever experienced this? And like, just put something out there that people are like, huh, I hadn't thought about it, but yeah, I have. So saying something that's like unique, that's thought inducing, that's maybe a little bit controversial. You don't want to go too far, but saying something that like just gives people a moment of pause can be really important to setting that hook and then dragging them through the rest of your presentation. Again, stating the problem, stating the solution, describing your traction. And then we want to end with we want to close the sale. So we want to end with what our call to action is, what we expect the person we're pitching to should do, or kind of what the next steps are. So if I'm talking to an investor, making the ask, tell them you want their money. If it's a customer, when can we start our service? So don't just end the presentation, say what the next steps are for your audience. So if you like what we're doing, check out our website. Here it is, something like that. It's okay. Like, everything doesn't have to result in sale, but you always want to let people know what they should do if they're interested in what you're doing. So here's an example of our fitness company that we used a little bit ago. And this is like the short pitch, right? And this would be, I'm being very pitchy. This isn't like I met somebody in an elevator. I'm probably given an opportunity. Um, Something like, at XYZ Fitness, we combine personalized coaching with cutting edge technology to help busy professionals achieve their fitness goals faster than ever before. Our program has already helped hundreds of people transform their bodies and their lives with an average weight loss of 10 pounds in just 30 days. You can sign up for a free consultation today and join XYZ Fitness, the XYZ Fitness Revolution at xyzfitness.com or whatever. Stumbled over that a little bit, but maybe practice. But that's my short pitch. That's like, obviously that's more of like an ad read type thing. Like that might sound a little bit uncomfortable if I'm doing it to a live audience, but you get the idea. We're spitting our thing. We're telling them where they can follow up. And yeah. Okay, so those are the basic components of a pitch. We're going to be doing this next week. We're going to be doing a lengthier version, so we're going to go through all of our slides and talk about all of them. I'll talk about that in greater detail next week. But let's jump in and talk about our team slide that we're going to be putting together this week. I actually ordered this last, so we'll be doing this next week, but let's talk about our team slide that is due this week. So if you haven't looked at the previous lecture when I talked about team, go back and look at it. I'm not going to reiterate all that here. We're just going to talk about the high points and what we want to talk about on our team slide. Okay, so our team slide answers the question, why you? So whether it's a customer or an investor, those people want to know, well, why should I trust you? Why should I trust you to create a return for me? Why should I trust you to take care of my child? Why you? Why are you the right person to do this job? Now, if it's a single company, it's why you specifically as a person. If it's a group of people or an actual company, the question would be like, why you as a group, right? What about you gives credibility to your ability to solve this problem? So, we see here, this is what this person, I think our founder's name here is Sam. This is what this person lists as to why they have the ability and the skill set to solve the problem as they've laid out. And there isn't really any tried or true, there's nothing I can point to specifically about like, make sure you have these elements. This is very business and market, specific. So, this person lists that they have a license, which is super important in this type of business. Okay. They're talking about their passions, talking about the local community, right? Now, this says experienced caregiver, maybe actually adding something in here that indicates what is that experience, a certain number of years or something like that. Might give more credibility. If you have a degree, maybe having a degree in this area of study is important. Maybe indicating, what is, you say deep in understanding. Is there a way to indicate that indicates to me that you have a deep understanding? And maybe that's difficult to put on a slide. So maybe we think about our slide as the visual representation. But then when we're speaking and we're doing our pitch, we get into more of those like, hey, this is me and this is why I have, this is my experience in Mira Mesa, and this is why I have a deep understanding. So everything doesn't necessarily have to be packed in the slide. Again, these bullet points are trying to give us some talking points when we're actually doing our pitch. But yeah. Sorry, blanked out there for a second. Yeah, so again, this slide is answering the question, why you? Why do you have the ability to solve this problem? Why should I trust you with my hard-earned dollars versus anybody else? What is unique about you that allows you to be the person to solve this? Just having an idea doesn't matter if you can't actualize that idea, if you don't have the skills to actualize that idea. Nobody should trust you and nobody will trust you. So inform the people, let the people know why you're the right people, you're the right person to solve the problem. Okay, so that's what we're going to be putting together this week. Once again, last week is our last week, and we'll be pulling together our entire pitch. We'll be adding one final slide on business model, and then we'll be running our pitch from slide 1 through slide 8 and talking about our business in full. Next week, there will not be a critique. So once you've uploaded your video, class is over. This week there is a critique, so please remember to comment on 2 slides or 2 other pitches after you submitted yours. Okay. Once again, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I'm happy to discuss whenever. All right. Well, have a great day.